Oh, I've been hearing that constantly over the past week while we've been doing the show and editing, and I'm still not tired of it at all. I love that. I am Steve Hester. With me, as always, is...
That would be me, Andrew Roger Carson, as you know.
Yes, and we're welcoming you to episode 2 of Poddywood. We actually did it. We got one out.
Yes, we're at Poddywood Part 2.
Yes. We had a great episode last time with Becca Marks. I was talking through her early part of her career, but you can find that now on Spotify, everywhere else that you get in this one. And if you're at all interested, we also have the Patreon version, which is extended, and you can find all the details about that on patreon.com/Poddywood. Right, but this week, before we actually kick off, just going to do a very brief thing. I just saw it on the news before we started. Adrian Edmondson, and this does link with film because he was in The Last Jedi. Poor sod. But it's just but he was also in Bottom during the 90s with Rick Mayall. And
It's time to forget, Steve.
I'm
Let
never
The
going to
Last Jedi
forget.
go.
I'm never going to let that go. It destroyed me. But he's just had to be rescued by the fire brigade after cleaning his window went wrong.
That's an interesting and very, very high point to start our show off with, Steve. That's great. I thought we could have at least mentioned on the fact that I can at least gloat to everybody that I had my first vaccine on Sunday.
Well done.
And there's a reason why now I know we don't do a show on a Monday. Because I was feeling absolutely fine. And then suddenly, as soon as somebody asked me if, how did it go? How are you feeling? And I was like, oh, I'm absolutely fine. 20 minutes later, I felt like death.
It's not fun, is it?
It was not fun at all. But hey, I'm halfway there.
It's better than the alternative.
It is very better than the alternative. But as you saw last week, we did our first round of what we've now called What's in the Box?
What's in the box?
People are going to know what this is for a long time after today's episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Guarantee you. In which I would pluck a movie that is certified fresh for our kind of movie phobe Steve, who has not seen a lot of good movies, I guess you'd call it.
Well, no, I've not seen many movies which don't feature car chases and explosions, let's be honest.
Exactly. So, and you watched the first movie, I understand, last night. And that
did.
was the 2002 Alexander Payne movie about Schmidt. And I will say for people who are going to criticize, yes, I did say last week he won the Academy Award. He didn't. He won a Golden Globe for that performance. He was nominated for an Academy Award. Mm-hmm. And that was a screw up on my part. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Steve, give us your feedback. What do you think?
Okay, well, first of all, a quick synopsis. About Schmidt is about a guy called Warren Schmidt who retires after spending a lifetime in insurance. His wife passes away very early on in the film, and the film is basically about him trying to come to terms with where he is in his life up until that stage. It was a lot slower than I thought it was going to be. And I'm just going to go into it because, 2002, so we're way past spoilers at this point. I was also expecting there to be just a real big blowout moment of catharsis. Because you look at exactly what's going on. The insurance company that he's given his entire life to has moved on. He's not very happy in his marriage. His daughter has moved away. He later finds out that his closest friend has been sleeping with his wife many, many years ago. Basically, I was expecting a moment where Jack Nicholson was going to go full-on Jack and properly do the swivel-eyed lunatic meltdown. But it never came.
No, that's a staple of kind of Alexander Payne's movies, if you've ever been fortunate to see any others, and I'm sure you'll probably have some more dug out in What's in the Box over the course of our entire show. But it is very downplayed. The movies are quite slow. It's like movies like Sideways, Election, Nebraska especially, which is amazing. It is all about those kind of journeys. A lot of them are kind of midlife as well, and that thrown into the whole mix of when life changes or you're not living up to potential.
Yeah, and right up until the very end, because ultimately at the end he goes to his daughter's wedding and she's marrying a guy that he really doesn't approve of. There's someone that owns a waterbed store and is trying to get in on pyramid schemes and everything. And right at the beginning, people giving speech at his retirement party, and everything's very, very shallow and superficial, and he knows it's kind of shallow and superficial, but just like everybody else, he's grinning and getting along with it. And then he has to give the speech at the end, and I was expecting there to be a big kind of moment where he just flips. But no, everything about the whole film is very subdued, including like even the colour in the first half of it. It's very grey, very dark, and then gets kind of lighter as it goes on. And there's even moments when I thought I was looking at a Christopher Guest film, the way that things were kind of shot, But the big thing that sticks out in my mind is a big up to Kathy Bates for getting into the nip. Oh, that was brave.
It's not the first time she's done it either. She did it as well in a movie called At Play in the Fields of the Lord back in the early 90s, shortly after her fame in Misery. But yeah, it was one of those, would you call it an eye-opening moment or an eye-closing moment? I don't know.
Well, I will say she was looking very, very good for a woman of her age. Very good.
Yeah, she's fearless. So, does it deserve its fresh rating or not?
I think it did. For me, I think it's one of those films that now I've seen it, I enjoyed it while I was watching it. I watched it with my girlfriend as well last night. She enjoyed it as well. We were talking about it a lot afterwards. I feel better having seen it. Would I watch it again? Probably not.
Well, I'm of that mindset where you should only watch a film once, and if you come back to watch a film again, then obviously it's a really good film. So I tend to only watch movies once in a lifetime, unless they're really, really good.
Yeah.
But no, glad you enjoyed it. But our guest for this week is our music man himself, Neil Priddey. What a creative guy this is. The more I get to know him over these last couple of years, I just discover more and more about him. So he is the owner of a graphic design company called Priddey Design. He is a composer, musician, I believe, and he's probably going to correct me here, but he plays, I believe, lead guitar for Black Sabbath tribute band Sabracadabra. He's also the artist behind a New Journey project, of which we'll hear a track of later on.
And also our theme tune.
And our theme tune, which is much more important.
Oh, yeah.
He's also an author of a whole number of books, including one I believe that he is recently nominated for an award. He's a producer also, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly. I could tell you all of these things, but why bother when he's here? Hello, Neil. How are you doing?
All right, pals. How you doing? How you doing, guys?
Thank you for joining us, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
Andy's just listed all your list of accomplishments, which we'll get onto in a minute. But what did you think of About Schmidt? Because you watched it over the weekend as well, didn't you?
I did indeed, because I was an avid listener to your first podcast, which was great. Well done, guys. Well done for getting it off the ground. So I thought, yeah, I'd tag along. I thought, I actually thought I'd seen it. I was surprised. I must have got confused with all the other numerous Jack Nicholson movies I've seen. But pretty similar kind of feelings, I think, to yourself, Steve. I thought, this is a bit slow to start with, but, we'll stick with it. And same thing, I'm waiting for the Jack Nicholson stereotypical bug-eyed scene where he just rants at everybody and everything. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was actually very well paced. I thought it was very measured and a lower key performance from Nicholson, but I think it was right for the role because I think the character wasn't that kind of explosive kind of character, and it would have felt out of place.
That's very true. Very true. But yes, in talking about how I kind of first have met Neil, I think it was about 3 years ago. Was it around 3 years ago?
Yeah, it probably feels longer.
Yeah, it definitely feels much longer. For the people that we know, I think we've known each other for too long.
Indeed.
But when I initially met you, obviously I knew you as the director of Priddey Design, which you can find at Priddey Design on all of social media. If you need your graphic design work done, that's the cheapest plug I think I've ever given for you, Neil. That's unbelievable.
I'll pay that $5 later. Don't worry.
Yes.
You're getting a $5?
That's a bonus.
Yeah, his rates have gone up.
All right.
But in getting to know Neil, and obviously I came along to a gig you did, which was for, I believe you were guitar for, was it Electric Rebels?
No, I
And then
was I
Sabbath
was
guitar.
I was multitasking that night. I was the support band was an originals band. I was in Manchester band, which was called Electric Rebels. So I was doing lead vocals for that. I wasn't playing guitar in that one.
Oh, yes.
And then later was the Black Sabbath tribute, and I was playing guitar in that one. So yeah, multitasking
Yes. And Steve was there that night also. He
indeed.
came along to join us. 'Cause
Yes, I did.
we always used to look for excuses to actually get out and do something. So I was like, come along to this gig. And it was fantastic. It was at the Star and Garter in Manchester.
What a pub that is!
Yeah. It's a lot. It's strangely smaller and bigger than you think it is at the same time.
It's deceptive on the inside, but it's just so it just looks so derelict everywhere around. It looks like it's in the middle of a wasteland. But very, very famous venue, more for punk music, to be fair. Indian punk music in Manchester, very famous venue.
Yeah, you kind of get that vibe when you're kind of going upstairs in the place too, because you're led up this really thin staircase, and you're thinking, where the hell are we going? How can there be a gig here? Then it opens up to this really spacious room upstairs, which is where the gig was, and it was just an amazing night. And from there, we kind of got to know each other a bit more. And then I realized, that you had produced music videos and even adverts that I was aware of and none of. And obviously, we're talking about the infamous Ricky Tomlinson
Yes.
commercials. I know. So I'll let you explain on this one.
This was this was going back quite a few years now. This was, I think, 2001, because this was in a direct response to the 9/11 attacks. So this was on behalf of a holiday company called Going Places, which was part of Air Tours. And obviously 9/11, everybody obviously cancelled flights, and everybody was afraid to fly. So we had to come up with an advertising campaign that basically encouraged people to get back going on holiday. And it was all about great value deals and all this kind of thing. It's worth taking the plunge and booking a holiday. So creatively, the challenge was, how do we find a character who is notoriously a stick in the mud, doesn't do anything, doesn't go anywhere. And it was the character that Ricky Tomlinson had played in The Royal Family, which was Jim Royal. And he's always sat there in his armchair, scratching his bum, picking his nose, and wearing a string vest kind of thing. So long story short, contacted Ricky through his agent. He agreed to do the campaign, which involved TV, radio, photography. There was billboards all over the place with him on as well. And the idea was that if we could get him, his character as Jim Royal, if we could even get him going on holiday, we could get anybody going on holiday. So that was the basic premise. The trouble was, Ricky at the time was filming a TV series in Liverpool, which was called Nice Guy Eddie. I think it was a detective series. So he was working Monday to Friday, shooting this TV series. So the only way to do it was to shoot it in the UK. So we ended up at Pinewood Studios on a set that cost us something like £250,000 to build, with a swimming pool, a beach bar, real palm trees, obviously all the cast and everything that went on with it. And we shot it over one weekend at Pinewood, which obviously, amazing to just be there, let alone actually be working in the environment. We shot it with director, I think you know him, Andy, Steve Barron.
Steve Barron, yeah.
Yeah, so he'd worked with Ricky on the Mike Bassett England Manager film. So
I
it was
really
actually
like that
Ricky's
film.
suggestion that we worked with Steve on the shoot. So Steve had said to Ricky, we've got this one scene where basically it's so the premise is Ricky's on holiday in the armchair by the side of the pool, and he at one point reveals, he says, "Do you want to see me white bits?" So of course he's got all his fake tan on and reveals his the shoulder strap of his t-shirt. Then he's bending down to reveal his white sock. His sock where he's got this white mark on his ankle. And he only went and turned around and dropped his shorts right to camera, so we got to see Ricky Tomlinson's spotty arse.
Oh, lovely.
A sight never to be forgotten. I think I'm still in therapy for it, to be fair.
Hold on. Speaking of Mike Bassett, didn't he? I've actually got a memory. Didn't he? He went naked in Mike Bassett as well. There's a scene where the
Yes,
press
I
all
think he
arrive at
did.
his house and he's completely starkers.
Yeah, I don't. He's actually. It's surprising. He's actually a very shy, very quiet guy. In person, but obviously he then gets into character, and I think it's just when the cameras are rolling, he's quite prepared to get his kit off.
Could definitely give Kathy Bates a run for his money.
I'm not going to lie, I know which one I would rather see in the nip.
Yes, and why is that, Mike Bassett? So, of good note here, we're mentioning it's Steve Barron. Do you know what Steve Barron also directed, Steve?
No.
It's all right to say no. He directed the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Did he?
Yes, most successful independent film for a long, long time.
Yeah. Oh God, what did it get? Was it Blair Witch Project that replaced it?
I believe it was the Blair Witch Project. In getting back to your kind of adverts and promotional stuff,
Yeah.
I understand that you were also working with Kato himself, Bert Kwok.
Not now, Keto.
Yes.
Again, another sort of bizarre set of circumstances, but it's actually for the same company. So we did a lot of radio commercials for them, lots of campaigns, and we worked with all kinds of guys. It was a real privilege to get to meet a lot of these people and work with them, in recording studios, like the cast of The Fast Show. We had the impressionist John Coleshaw, who was just... The session should have lasted an hour. I think we were there for 3 hours listening to his Tom Baker impressions. And with just everybody in the studio. We were just dying laughing. The guy was just non-stop. So one of the campaigns called for like an ancient Chinese mystic. It's sat at the top of a mountain. So we thought, we need an ancient Chinese mystic. Where are we going to find one? And the creative guys at the time said, what about Bert Kwok? And you'll never get Bert Kwok to do this. Sure enough, Bert Kwok says, yes, absolutely fine. Turns up at the studio, and Bert Kwok walks in, immaculately dressed. Pinstripe suit, shirt and tie. I'm thinking, does he know he's on radio? But honestly, absolutely, and a real gentleman as well. So there's two characters in this script. So the idea is you've got this sort of backpacking hitchhiker guy climbing a mountain looking for the font of all wisdom in terms of how to book a holiday. And sat at the top is this ancient Chinese mystic, passing on his wisdom. So Bert Kwok walks in, go, good afternoon, Mr. Kwok, very nice to see you. Very pleased to be working with you. Here's the script. Looks at the script and he goes, so, I suppose you'd like me to play the Chinaman? Yes, please, Mr. Kwok, if you wouldn't mind. Absolute genius.
Well, it was a 50-50 stab, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that is amazing. Okay, I briefly want to go over your music here. And
Yep.
thankfully, you've recorded the opening theme for our show and a couple of themes that you're going to hear a bit later on. An incredibly talented musician. I understand that you kind of taught yourself guitar,
Yep.
if I'm right.
Never had a lesson. And most
never
people say you can tell. Can't read a note in music. It's just a load of spidery black dots on a page to me. I haven't got a clue.
And you've been involved with quite a few number of bands, and obviously the kind of big one that you've been doing is, I guess you say, the official Black Sabbath tribute band, Sabracadabra. You play all over England, as well as the odd canal.
A very odd canal indeed, yeah.
Very odd canal.
Yeah.
And it's the most brilliant story of, he said, we're going to actually play a gig for two members of Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And I think it was the opening of a bridge or something.
Of a
like that.
bridge?
This is pure Spinal Tap. I absolutely kid you not. So this came about. I've known Black Sabbath's original manager for a few years. I interviewed him for one of my books. Very nice guy. He was sacked by Black Sabbath back in 1970. There's an entire episode of a story that I could tell you all about that. But moving on. So I've known Jim Simpson. He's called. Known him for quite a few years, and he knew that we played in this Black Sabbath tribute band. So literally just got a phone call out of the blue. And he said, "Neil, are you sat down?" I said, "Well, I can be, Jim. Why? What's up?" He goes, "Black Sabbath. I've already had a bench commissioned to commemorate their 50 years of, because they're all from Birmingham, so they're commemorating their contribution to Birmingham's music scene." I Okay, yeah, they've got this bench, great. Well, it's been housed in a museum, and they're now going to relocate it and put it on a bridge, and the bridge is going to be renamed the Black Sabbath Bridge. I'm thinking, okay, where's this going? So he said, so we're having an official opening ceremony for the bridge and the bench being located there, and I need a band to play some Black Sabbath songs for the crowd that will be there, before, during, and after the couple of members of Black Sabbath are going to do the opening. I went, fantastic, sounds great. He said, it's on an island in a canal. Pardon? It's on an island in a canal. You're going to be playing on the island. The two guys from Black Sabbath will sail towards you on a barge. They'll stop at the island. They'll make a couple of announcements to the crowd. They will then get back on the boat and the barge and then sail up the canal to where the bridge is and then open the bridge. I went, what the hell? An island in a canal? Who has an island in a canal? So it turns out it's actually a roundabout, bizarrely. This island is actually a junction where two canals meet, and it's used as a roundabout by barges. And sure enough, we put all the gear on this island. We're there with our own Ozzy Osbourne that we kept throwing to push into the canal. 4 of us just about fit on this island. And then sure enough, at whatever time it was, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Tony Iommi, the guitarist, and Geezer Butler, the bass player, are sailing towards us in a barge whilst we're playing their music. It was the most surreal thing I've ever experienced.
I think it's for you, and I've sure saw it on your Facebook of you actually playing on this little roundabout in a canal.
Yep.
And you kind of just turn to look at someone as you're playing, and you give this look, you give this perfect look that can only communicate a bit different, innit?
Honestly, it was dreamlike. It really was. I'm thinking, this can't be happening. Please don't let that boat sink with 2 members of Black Sabbath on it just before we get there. So absolutely bizarre day, really bizarre.
As well as doing the Sabracadabra, and we really look forward to seeing you guys touring again now that things are kind of getting back to a bit normal. But in your kind of downtime over the last year, you composed your own album, which is the New Journey Project.
Yeah.
Which is the songs that you've written and composed yourself.
Yeah, I mean, basically that was sort of in response to, I mentioned earlier that there was a band called Electric Rebels that I was in, which was a Manchester originals band. And we did the usual thing, we split up for musical and personal differences, basically everybody hated the guitar player. So I just took this as an opportunity to say, I've got these songs that I composed, I want to record them, just at least, put them down onto a CD. And then it just developed. It was going to be, I don't know, 3 or 4 songs, and I just carried on writing, managed to get an album's worth of material, and I thought, I'm going to do it, just go and record it. And I thought, I'm going to do everything myself. So I'm going to write a theme tune, sing the theme tune, play all the songs myself. Played everything, sorted the drums out, bass guitar, lead guitars, rhythm guitars, vocals. I'd had one guest singer on it, who's a mate of mine who's been played in bands with me for years and years and years. I asked him to guest on one track, the last track on the album. But again, that was a fantastic recording experience because the engineer was bowled over by it. And the track that you're going to play later, which we'll sort of come on to in a bit, I assume, was inspired by a connection to Motorhead. So the engineer said, well, we've got to record it like Lemmy would. I went, what do you mean? He says, well, I've got Lemmy's bass guitar rig. I said, what do you mean? He said, no, the same amplifier and speaker that he used. So we got the right guitar, the right amplifier, plugged it all in, and then when we recorded it, it's a particular technique. You record the signal dry, and then you reamp it back into the engineering later. So it means you can tweak the sound a lot more with a lot more flexibility. So we had it that loud, we had to vacate the building whilst we recorded the bass guitars. We stood in the car park, and you could see the windows were shaking. It was absolutely immense.
Well, speaking of the track, we've got it for you now. It's called Dead Man's Hand. So take it away, other Neil.
There's nothing up your sleeve, I know you're telling lies.
There we go. Well, yeah, you can definitely tell the influence there for Motorhead without question.
It was a deliberate. It was a deliberate. I would say almost like I wanted it to be a sequel to the Ace of Spades. And obviously, Lemmy passed away. I think it's 4 or 5 years ago now. So for me, it was my own sort of personal tribute to what I class as one of the all-time classic, 3-minute pop songs. All right, it sounds like a heavy metal track, but it's a 3-minute pop song.
Yeah.
Ace of Spades is, it's one of those instantly recognisable riffs. As soon as you hear it, you know exactly what song it is. So for me, it was taking. There's a mention that Lemmy makes in the lyrics of Ace of Spades, which is, the dead man's hand again. And I knew a little bit about it.
Wild Bill Hickok, wasn't it?
Wild Bill Hickok, exactly.
Yeah.
He was shot over a game of poker. He was shot in the back. So I just dug a little bit more into, the legend, and some of it is legend. A lot of people don't know the truth. And the best bit about it is we know it was a pair of aces and a pair of eights, but nobody knows what the kicker card was. So I just took that story and just turned it into lyric, and I said, I'm going to make it sound like Motorhead.
But you definitely did do. I think it's an absolutely brilliant song.
Thank you, mate.
It really does get you going.
Okay, so moving on from that, absolutely amazing track, and the entire album's amazing as well. Where can you actually get the album, Neil?
You can get it from me. I've still got a few CD copies left. It's on Bandcamp. So there's a website called Bandcamp. So if you go on bandcamp.com, I believe, and do a search for New Journey projects, you can stream it on there, for which you get paid 0.00001 pence, I think, per stream, or you can buy the CD, and it's only a tenner. Bargain.
There you go.
Perfect. Be a bit retro. Get a CD.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I'm currently expecting a CD to arrive via Amazon delivery today, because my partner, nicely enough, bought me the Delamitri Greatest Hits, because I was talking the other day about Delamitri touring in Manchester later this year, and me and Neil are going to go and see them.
I'll be there, definitely. Great band.
Definitely. But now it's time to nominate 5.
Now's the time to nominate 5.
Nominate 5?
Yes, nominate 5. Not 3 or 4 or 6 or 9. Now's the time to nominate 5.
Now you see, we don't cheapen out on our music.
No, not at all.
Where the hell did you get that from?
I have no idea. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Neil has very, 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 very kindly provided that, and also another new musical cue that we'll be getting onto later.
Yep. So for today's nominate 5, obviously it has to be a very music-centric nominate 5. So Neil, I've asked you to provide us nominate 5 best uses of music in film.
Okay, where do you want to start? Do we just start
Let's
with a
start
random?
At number 5.
Let's start number 5. They're in no particular order, so I'm just
That's
going.
fine.
Never are.
I'm just going to go.
It's easy.
I'm going to go in alphabetical order, but in code. So I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with White Rabbit, which is Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
Now, what was the film?
Oh, God, it's been used in so many.
Okay, the one I'm going to go for is its use in Platoon, because it was the
Yes.
It's the initiation, I think, of Charlie Sheen into the shall we say the drugs background that happened in the Vietnam War. That was his
the stoner
initiation. Camp. Absolutely. So I just thought it's a fantastic track, and I just thought it was the transition of Charlie from that sort of wide-eyed innocent rookie soldier really into the world of what went on in Vietnam. So one of my favourite films, and I just thought it was a fantastic track.
Hey, Andy, guess
choice.
what? I've not seen it.
Oh, well, it's in the box.
Oh,
The box.
it's in the box!
Put it in the box.
Yeah, this will make so much sense later on, we hope.
Yeah, it will. We should have done this earlier, really, shouldn't we?
No, it's the main event. We leave it to last. Okay, number 4.
Number 4. Okay, this is a slightly weird one. This is a recurring theme that happens throughout a movie. It's a piece of classical music, and this is Saraband by Handel. You'll need to Google it, and honestly, it's just... I'm a sucker for music in movies, as you can probably tell, a whole thing about the atmosphere. So Saraband by Handel appears in Stanley Kubrick's classic, Barry Lyndon.
I was about to say Barry Lyndon.
Again, one of my absolute favourite films. Just everything about it, I just love it. I think it's Kubrick's masterpiece. Controversially, I think it's his best film.
Ooh, that is a controversial statement because it's not actually one of his most talked about. But it definitely is right up there. And guess what? Steve hasn't seen it.
You're right, I haven't seen it.
Put it in the box.
It's in the box. Okay.
Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3, again, I think it's just the clever usage of the music. It's the introduction piece to a film just as the film is starting. And it's People Are Strange by The Doors.
Oh, for the Lost Boys.
They're Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I have seen that one.
Take it out of the box. Oh, no.
That one's coming out of the box. It was in there as well.
Actually, I saw it at yours one night with Kate.
That's right. I'd
We
forgotten
sat
about
down
that.
and watched it because you guys were going to a convention and Kiefer Sutherland was there.
We were going to the horror convention where they had the first ever Lost Boys reunion minus Corey Feldman. But,
Yeah, let's not touch
yeah,
that
yeah,
one,
yeah.
really. Which, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2.
So, next up, speaking of horror, is Bad Moon Rising. by
American
Creedence
Werewolf in London.
Clearwater Revival by
Yeah.
American Werewolf in London. Exactly.
Love Creedence.
Just again, it's just the humour that goes with that one. It's just perfect, just for the film. So, and there's loads more tracks in that film that are just as good as well. So, but yeah, Bad Moon Rising.
It's a flawless horror film, that is, really. It just
Especially with Jenny Agutter in it.
Oof, yes. Okay.
Moving on.
Okay. So, well, let's get to number 1. What is the number 1 best use
Drum
of
roll,
music in film?
please.
Okay, so again, this is not a song, and it's not one particular piece of music. This is an entire film, and the film is Perfume, or the story of a murderer.
Genius choice.
The music in that is mind blowing, and again, just it's so perfectly shot, perfectly cast. It's an amazing piece of cinema.
It is. Don't worry, Steve. It's in the box.
Okay, good.
But
Good.
yeah, I fully agree with that. It is one of the best scores and utilization of music in there, and such an underrated film as well, because that should top a lot of favorite lists.
I think again, it's just one of those. It's the possibly sometimes I think the title puts people off. You know, you think, oh, what's this all about? But it's another one that went under the radar. I think that was one of the few films I went to see that at the cinema. Remember those? And this was one of the few films I stayed and watched all of the credits, so I could hear all the final pieces of music that went with the credits.
Is it Jeffrey Rush?
Over to you, Carsten.
Are you asking me?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm asking someone. You two have seen it. I haven't seen it. Come on.
It's not my favourite film. It's Neil's favourite film. Don't ask me the complicated questions.
Yeah, but
I just
you should know
I just
who's
like the
in it,
music.
for God's sake.
I've just wrestled an Amazon package out my dog's mouth.
Look, what you get up to in your spare time, that's entirely up to you.
That's another euphemism if ever heard one as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's God, who's in it?
I can't remember. If you're out there listening to this, just run it through IMDb. You'll find out sooner than we will.
John Hurt does the voiceover. Oh, Dustin Hoffman's in it. He's got a brilliant part in it. He's great.
R.I.P. John.
Well, that's an amazing nominate 5, and really informative. There's 5 really good films there, 3 of them that Steve obviously has to see.
Yep.
So, Neil, before we round out into our last segment here, I really want to thank you for coming along to us today. We know you're going to be a recurring guest. We're going to have you on. You're going to be heard every single week through all of the little jingles and music cues that we have. Is there anything that you kind of want to promote, want to get out there, want people to look up, buy, go to?
Crikey. Well, I mean, in the introduction, I think you said that, you know, I've written books and music and all kinds of things. I've got loads of books on Amazon, so check out Neil Priddey, Priddey, on Amazon, and you'll see there's lots of books on collecting rare records. And there's also a book just about to be published, which is deserted Manchester during lockdown, which you will know quite a lot about because you were there.
I was there. I was actually shooting a movie, which hopefully we're going to start editing together soon.
Yeah.
As soon as possible. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes, thank you, Neil.
And I guess we're going to round out the show by asking the question,
what's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box?
That might actually be my favourite thing on the entire show now every week.
Oh, it's going to be great.
I remember saying to Neil, this is kind of what I want. I want it to be kind of like the Brad Pitt 7 scene where it's saying, what's in the box? Never in a million years did I think that was coming back.
At least I didn't do the expletive one.
It's like if Brad Pitt went through the Sex Pistols, really, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have the box here.
The box.
Now the rule is we'll pull out a film that is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, whatever you call it. Let's call the whole thing off. And if Steve hasn't seen it, he has to watch it the night before our next podcast and give a review like he did without Schmidt today. Now, also in the ruling here, if Steve has seen it, we toss that one aside and dig out another. It's that simple. It doesn't really need explaining.
No, it's incredibly simple. And after last week's surprise enjoyment of About Schmidt, I'm quite looking forward to seeing what's going to be presented to me this week. So, Andy, stick your hand in the box, have a good rummage round, and see what you can pull out for me.
That's what she said. Let's have a look.
That's what your mother said.
I wondered when that one was coming in. I think you've actually seen this one because I recommended it to you not so long ago. You saw Michael Clayton, didn't you?
I did see Michael Clayton, yeah.
Okay, so that one could be tossed out.
Okay,
So did you. I've recommended that film to both of you, and you went and watched it. That's how good it is.
Well, I did because we were supposed to be interviewing Bill, and then of course all that interview ended up getting eaten up when the storage medium that I had everything for the original version of the podcast on just went up in smoke.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it happens. Okay. Number 2. Well, the second choice of the day. Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon. That is Al Pacino, isn't it?
Al Pacino.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Oh, well, there we go. Now you've got to see Dog Day Afternoon.
Yes.
By this time next week.
That should be easily done.
Yes, and we invite everyone who hasn't seen it, or even if you have seen it, go and watch it, and join us next week. You can engage in some conversation with us through the social media channels.
Yes, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. I'm going to be setting up the Reddit account soon, so you can join us there in like a forum, forum discussions of the latest movies and what have you over there. Thank you very, very much for joining us today. Thank you very, very much to Neil for being an absolutely amazing guest with some great stories. Really has been an absolute joy having you on today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to hearing the finished result. And guess what? I'm going to watch Dog Day Afternoon too.
Why not?
Why not, indeed?
So everyone out there, watch Dog Day Afternoon. Go on to Amazon. Check out Neil's books. Go on to SoundCloud.
It's on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, sorry.
It's all right. It's 10 of your finest English pounds.
There we go. That's nothing.
Bargain.
You'll have got loads of it saved up after the lockdown. So you've got no excuse. So it's a big thank you from me.
And it's an even bigger thank you from me.
We will see you next week. And don't forget, if you fancy supporting us on Patreon, you can find us over there, patreon.com/Poddywood. You can also find us now on Spotify, Amazon Music, basically all the big podcast stations. Thank you, and we will see you next time.
Ciao, Bella.